Questions of the day, students. My name is Dr. Sarika Joshi. I am the Assistant Professor at AISSMS College of Hotel Management and Catering Technology. Under the series of sessions of Bridge Course and Chemistry, we have already seen the sessions based on properties of matter and their effect on heat. The objectives of today's session are the basic chemistry behind melting point and boiling point, factors affecting the melting point and the boiling point of various matters, and the application of melting point as well as boiling point in hotel industry. Let us first understand the basic chemistry behind melting point and boiling point. Well, the melting point and the boiling points are influenced by the forces between the molecules of a substance. As we understood in the previous session, that each substance has got different properties, and so is the composition of their molecules. Understanding that the substances with the stronger molecular forces tend to have a higher melting point or a boiling point, since more energy is needed to overcome these forces. For example, the metals with higher melting points have metallic bonds stronger holding the atoms together, and a very strong bond exists between them. The scientists take advantage of understanding these melting points and boiling points and application in engineering or various other fields. Let us take another example wherein we perform cooking as a function. The various melting point of ingredients helps us to understand various recipes, their textures and their preparation methods. While in chemistry labs, the scientists use these boiling points and melting points to verify and sometimes to classify the substances. So what is melting point and boiling point? So basically they are important properties that tell us how solids and liquids behave when they are heated. We have also seen the application of heat on various matters in the previous session. So there depends a force between the various molecules, and that becomes the crucial aspects or scientific aspects in the everyday life application. Now let us have a look at which are the factors that affect the melting point of a particular substance. To classify, the first factor is the molecular weight of that particular substance. The second factor is the intermolecular forces. The third factor is the crystal structure of the particular substance. The next factor is the presence of impurities in a given substance. And the last factor is the molecular symmetry. Let us see them one by one. The first factor is the molecular weight. That defines the larger the molecules, the stronger the intermolecular forces. And smaller the molecules, the weaker is the intermolecular forces. And so depending on the higher force, the melting point also goes higher. This is because larger molecules have more electrons, more atoms, and which leads to the stronger attraction between these molecules. The second factor which considers the melting point of the substance is the intermolecular forces. So as we just understood, the stronger the intermolecular forces, the higher is the melting point, and weaker the intermolecular forces results in the lessening of the melting points. For example, substances with hydrogen bonding or dipole interactions have higher melting points as compared to the substance with weaker forces like van der Waals forces. These are certain examples based on the first 2 points. Moving ahead with the next factor that determines the melting point and the boiling point of a particular substance, it is the crystal structure. The crystal structure is the arrangement of molecules in a crystal lattice that affects the ease with which the solid can melt. Different crystal structures may have different melting points due to the variations in the molecular packing. So as we have seen earlier that the molecules are different based on the properties of matter, the crystal structure also varies, and so varies the melting point. Going ahead with the next factor that determines the melting point and the boiling point, it's the presence of impurities in a particular substance. The impurities disrupts the regular arrangement of the molecules in the crystal, which results in reducing the strength of the intermolecular forces, and thus the melting point is lowered. So this defines that more the number of impurities in a particular substance, the melting point will be reduced even much more. Going ahead with the last point that determines the melting point and the boiling point of a particular substance, it is the molecular symmetry. So it means that most of the things depends on the molecules of the substance. The symmetric molecules tend to have the higher melting point because they can be packed more efficiently in a crystal lattice, leading to the stronger intermolecular forces. The weaker intermolecular forces lowers the melting point or the boiling point of a particular substance. Let us see some of its applications. Understanding the factors which affects the melting point of a particular substance, their applications in day-to-day life or industry or science can be seen as given. The purity determination. In chemistry labs, scientists use melting point to assess the purity of the substance. Pure substances have sharp melting points, while the substance with lot of impurities lower the melting point and broaden the melting range. Material science. So this application from the point of view of engineering mentions that engineer and material scientists use this knowledge of melting point and boiling point of a substance to design and select the specific applications. Let us see an example. Metals with high melting points are used in applications which requires higher temperature, such as aerospace engineering. Another application of this can be seen in pharmaceuticals. In the pharmaceutical manufacturing industry, knowing the melting point of certain ingredients is essential or very crucial for formulating drugs and ensure its effect when in use. So we have seen certain applications of the melting point of a substance in industry, in chemistry labs, or in science and engineering. Now let us move our attention to the boiling point of the substance. So like we saw various factors that affects the melting point of a particular substance depending on the molecular properties, the boiling point of a substance can be determined with the help of following factors. They can be named as the molecular size, the intermolecular forces, the molecular polarity, atmospheric pressure, and again the presence of impurities in them. Let's have a closer look at each of the description of these points. The first point is the intermolecular forces. So like we have seen in the melting point, the stronger the intermolecular forces, the better or higher will be the boiling point. So the substance which have higher forces or higher intermolecular forces such as hydrogen bonding or dipole-dipole interactions, these material have higher boiling points. The second factor that determines the boiling point is the molecular size. As we have understood already, the property of a particular substance depends on the molecule. The larger molecules have more surface area for intermolecular reactions, resulting in higher boiling points. This is because larger molecules requires more energy to overcome these forces as compared to the molecules which are smaller in size and the bond which requires to hold them together. I hope by now we have understood the first 2 points that determines the boiling point of a substance. Let us move on to the third point which defines the boiling point of a substance, and that is molecular polarity. So polar molecules which have positive and negative modes or ends experience the stronger dipole-dipole interactions, leading to higher boiling points compared to the non-polar molecules. Another element that is very crucial in determining the boiling point of a substance is the atmospheric pressure. Boiling point decreases with decreasing the atmospheric pressure and increases with the increase in the atmospheric pressure. So when we are at a higher altitude, let us say that you travel to a higher altitude where the atmospheric pressure is lower, the water boils at a lower temperature. This application can be easily understood once you apply it when you move to higher altitudes. Try that out. Another very crucial element or a factor that defines the boiling point is the presence of impurities, which defines or elevates the boiling point of the particular nature of the substance. A very common example to this, when you boil a plain water and when you boil water by adding either a salt or a sugar in it, there is definitely a variation in the boiling point of that water. The water which has either salt or sugar in it will definitely be considered as an impure water and will take time for boiling. Now that we have understood the factors that affects the boiling point of a substance, let us see some applications of them in everyday life, in industry as well as in scientific ways. The first application in cooking and food preparation. Yes, definitely we have so many things that we tend to boil while we are cooking delicious dishes. In the kitchen, the chef who are cooking use these boiling points to cook the food properly. Just to take an example of a favorite pasta, while they boil pasta in water until it reaches a specific temperature to ensure that the pasta is evenly cooked, as pasta will act as an impurity in the water, and depending on the thickness or the molecule, that will take time to boil and to cook eventually. One more aspect, that is distillation in chemistry. I am sure all of you have heard about the term distillation. In chemistry labs and in industry, distillation is used to separate and purify liquids, but this depends on what is the boiling point of a particular liquid. This is a very essential process for procuring pure substances and for separating the mixtures. Climate control. Yes, it is indeed a very important phenomenon. Now, understanding the boiling points of substances like refrigerators is crucial for designing, or let's say for that matter, air conditioners system is applicable in or is applicable as a boiling point in certain appliances that we use in everyday life. The important thing of the boiling point and the melting point from the hotel industry is crucial with respect to cooking, food preparation, laundry services, as in laundry we have various appliances and the fabric has to be treated as per the boiling point. Safety considerations is extremely important since there are boilers in hotels which are used as a larger extent and the temperature controls are monitored strictly. Let us elaborate a little bit about cooking or in food production and the application of boiling and the melting point. So what happens in the kitchen? The chefs, they understand the boiling point and melting point of various ingredients while preparing the dishes. Different ingredients have different melting points. Just to take example of various fats that are available, each type of fat has a different melting point and each type of oil has a different boiling point. And this exactly affects the texture and the flavor of the food when it is cooked. This also helps chefs to regulate the temperatures and make sure that each ingredient is used aptly. For example, the butter melts at a lower temperature than that of a sugar. So chefs have to carefully control the cooking temperature or the methods to ensure that different ingredients melts or boil at the right time, and that would create a desired taste and the texture in the final product while cooking is done. Knowing the melting points and the boiling points also helps the chefs to avoid any kind of overcooking or for that matter even burning of a food, and make sure that the food is cooked evenly. Laundry services, which becomes a vital part of a hotel operations. Understanding boiling point is very essential here, especially during stain removal and any kind of a fabric care. Since each fabric also has its different and distinct properties, a perfect temperature has to be maintained while taking care of these fabrics during the laundering processes. Laundry detergents, for that matter, contain chemicals that work best only at specific temperatures. By heating the water to its boiling point, stains are definitely or effectively broken down and they can be removed easily from the fabrics. Additionally, certain fabrics have different melting points, and understanding these points or depending on the category or type of the fabric helps them in preventing any kind of damage to the particular fabric. Not only during washing process but during ironing or calendaring also, these temperature controls are extremely important to be considered and applied differently for different types of fabrics. This way it will be easy for the laundry services to maintain high level of cleanliness. Safety considerations, as mentioned earlier, the melting points and the boiling points, they play a vital role when safety considerations are in hotels. So what is important here is the kitchen staff should be aware of the melting points of various oils and fats. Do you know what happens when the oil is heated or overheated? That may even catch fire. And scientifically, we call it as a fire point. So there are different points in food science where oils or fats are heated, and they can be named as fire point or a smoke point, where we can see a smoke coming out when the when the oil is heated or heat is applied to the oil. So during these applications, to avoid any kind of injuries or to help prevent from the fabric or the oil or the food stuff getting damaged, these considerations should be done by the respective staff members. Moreover, understanding the boiling points also helps in safely keeping them or storing them. So it is utmost important that we follow the protocols or the standard operating procedures. So in conclusion, the knowledge of melting point and boiling point is extremely important from the hotel operations point of view. By understanding the properties, hotel staff can ensure high quality of food, impeccable laundry services, and a safe environment for the hotel staff. Let us take a quick summary of the melting point and the boiling point. So what is a melting point? It is a temperature at which a solid substance changes into liquid. When a substance is heated, the molecule starts vibrating faster and faster, resulting of the change in the state from solid to liquid. A very common example of an ice cube which melts at a room temperature. Conclusion about the boiling point. Boiling point is a temperature at which liquid changes into gaseous, and depending on the density of the liquid, there are different boiling points for different substances. I thank you all for watching this video, and I hope you have understood the concept well. Good day all.